Greetings, Facebook world. I have an action-packed talk for you today, so I'm going to dive straight into it. This is day 5 of Alchemy of Fear, and I have two offerings for you, which I'm going to share with you at the end of this. But there is going to be some juicy information, and the reason for doing this is because I was invited to share a series of 10 videos that can be useful and supportive to other people at this time. And I was like, right, what do people need most help with that I could help with? Fear, dealing with fear. And in particular today, I'm going to talk about human design. So I'm going to post my body graph. It's a diagram with 9 different triangles and squares, kind of in the shape of a human being. And some of them are colored in and some of them are not. It is very complex. But what I want to do today is I want to break down some key points for you that can really help you at this time. So if you're brand new to this, there is one key take home for you, and that's about authority. Okay, so I'm going to break that down in a moment. But in human design, we have 4 different types, 4 different basic types. So those are the generator, the projector, the manifester, and the reflector. 4 basic types. Most people are generators, and they split roughly halfway into half are generators and half are manifesting generators. So that's like a subtype. So all of us are one of those 4 types, and there are 7 different kinds of authority. Now, I'm not going to go into all of those right now, but I want to give you a sense of how this could be useful to you, for you at this time. I'm just going to unplug the fan because that may be giving some background noise. So hopefully that's nice and clear, that you can hear me. So I'm actually going to start with talking about the spleen. Now, in medicine, we know that we have a spleen, and the human design system is a little bit like the chakra system. Okay, so if you're familiar with the 7 chakras, which I mentioned on yesterday's video, human design actually has 9 different centers. And it's kind of similar, but different. And today, in particular, I want to talk about 3 of those centers. Now, I don't have the technology to just share this image. I'm going to do a Zoom later where I can share these images more effectively, but I'll post it in the comments below, or you can see it on my wall. On my body graph, there are a series of 3 that go in a horizontal line, kind of just up from the bottom of the body graph. So we have on the left the spleen, mine is colored in brown. Then we have the sacral and the solar plexus, and those last 2 for me are white. So look, this human design is a huge rabbit hole. It's something you can really learn. You can learn for a lifetime and still keep on learning. But I wanted to just pull down the key points of how they can help us at this time. Now, I'm going to talk in a moment about authority, and that is really the big take home. But let's just touch on this spleen center first. It's a brown triangle. And on there are 7 different numbers, and each of those numbers is what we call a gate. You can either have it defined or undefined. Now, this is really a layer deeper, but I just want to tell you that each of these 7 gates corresponds to a fear. Now, if you're into human design already, you know you might want to look at these in specific, in detail. But for all of us, you know, sorry about the noise. I hope you can still hear me. This is a map of 7 different fears, and I feel these are so relevant right now. So here they are. Gate 48, fear of inadequacy. And it's like, you know, if you feel any of these fears right now, just let me know if you resonate with any of these 7 fears, or type me a comment if you are aware of something different moving in you, right? So gate 48 is fear of inadequacy. I'm definitely putting my hand up on that one. 57 is fear of tomorrow, the future. Gate 44, fear of the past. Gate 50, fear of responsibility. Gate 32, fear of failure. Gate 28, fear of death. And gate 18, fear of authority. Definitely got that one going on. So, this is a pretty good map for fear. It's a pretty good map to be able to actually have a look at it and, see what we're dealing with here. So it is possible to go into detail and analyze this and see how it's mapped out quite clearly. Excuse me a moment. Bless me. So that's one thing that human design talks about is the spleen. Perfect for looking at fear. Let's move on to some other things. This is like a surface view, and I am going to go a bit deeper into this, and I can go into it deeper with you one-on-one if you'd like me to do so. And if you want me to post some of these images in the comments below, you might find them useful. So you're very welcome. If you want me to do that, I can do that. Let's talk about. Let's just go straight for the big thing here. Now I'm in a whole load of different groups. So Kerry's got Kerry just jumped in to say she's got 44, which says fear of extinction. It's an interesting thing with human design. Sometimes they get labelled up slightly differently, and sometimes different versions do that. Maybe Kerry, you could just send me message me the source of that, because I'm interested to see where that information's coming from. I got this one from mybodygraph.com. Anyway, let's keep on moving, because I want to talk about inner authority and outer authority, right? And this touches on this for me connects with sovereignty. And what is sovereignty? How does sovereignty work? Well, for me, sovereignty is all about living in alignment with the deep truth of who I am. Now, who am I? Who are you? Well, we're human beings, but are we ultimately very powerful, or are we just sheep being herded about the place? I know how I want to live my life. I have moments of both. But what I notice in communities of people that have done inner work, and in particular from people who are doing human design, is that we seem to be a lot more, how would I put it? We seem to be a lot more, a lot less in fear, because we can accept what's going on, because we have a map for it and we can see what's happening. We don't have to make it personal or take it personally. And the big difference is, how do you decide what to do? Like, how do you make decisions? Do you look for some external source to tell you what to do? Or do you look within yourself, you see? Now, of course, we can take in information from outside of us. And for most people, that is the only way they make decisions. And that can create a lot of fear. May work for some people, but, really, like, that's the path of being told what to do. We call that, in human design, outer authority. Now, there's nothing wrong with it. Sometimes the information may be perfect, or the direction may be perfect. Like, if someone is saying, give me your wallet right now or else I'm going to shoot you, well, we call that outer authority. Now, in a human design sense, I would then look inside myself, and this, for me, I'm splenic, and for most people, I'm guessing it would happen straight away, and I would be like, yes, here is my wallet, take my wallet, don't shoot me, please. So, but you see, there's outer authority and then there's inner authority, and it's really important to distinguish the two things, yeah? Because we get a lot of messages that may or may not be in alignment with our highest interest. Now, this is not just about being selfish, because in human design, we have individual circuitry, which is about me. We have tribal circuitry. So you guys watching this, in some way, you're part of my tribe. the tribe of people around me, very diverse in my case, and the collective, which includes, you know, old people in Italy and everyone on the planet in the collective. So, but ultimately, we are here to live our lives. So, inner authority is about coming back into the body. And you know, the first time we get so used to this in human design circles that it's obvious, you know, and we're like, right, how do we work with our particular inner authority? You know, that there are some common ones and some less common ones. There are 7 different types of inner authority in human design. And I'm not going to break them all down right now, but they exist. And if you want to know more, hit me up. We can continue this discussion. I'll go into that in a bit more detail. But the point is, it's all about looking for the truth that is within your body. And it can be a bit of a new idea for people. Like, I got a wide range of people in my tribe. Some people who are brand new to doing any kind of inner work and being aware of what's going on inside. Some people are very, very experienced in that world. So for people that are new to the idea of doing inner work, it may be a weird thing to think about. How am I going to make decisions in my body? Don't I make decisions in my mind? Well, notice how your mind can change so quickly. Have you noticed how you listen to one person, maybe you think one thing, or one day you think this, and the other day you think that, or you get some new information and the mind changes. One day you might be in a really good mood and life is amazing. The next day you might be in a different mood and life is terrible. But you're the same human being. So what if there's a truth that's a bit deeper than that? And that truth is in the body. And there's also lots of other things in the body. There can be trauma stored up in the body, blockages, many things within the body. And it's a journey, you know? Practicing for years, it becomes easier to listen to the body. You ever have one of those situations where, you know, either you had a narrow escape or, you know, something went badly. And afterwards you're looking back going, I just knew that was going to happen. I just knew something was wrong. And maybe you listened to it and maybe you didn't. So that's an example of splenic authority. And we all have these experiences of just that inner knowing inside yourself. And no one can take that away from you. No one can steal it from you. And that can be a real source of strength. So yeah, that is inner authority. And you know, it can be just powerful to recognize in your own life, well, what is outer authority? You know, what is the message coming at you? And what is your inner authority? And very, very often the message coming, for whatever reason, the message that you're receiving can be a message of fear. So just notice, oh, that's outer authority. So right now I'm talking, you're hearing me. This is outer authority. Now, if it resonates inside of you, and you're like, yeah, I'm feeling this, I'm getting this, then that's your inner authority saying yes. Whereas if you're hearing it and you're thinking, nah, what's this guy on about? You know, he's ranting, or, you know, he's a weird hippie, or whatever, then you know, that's probably your inner authority saying this is not for you. So switch off and go. Likewise, you know, if this is brand new to you, if you're in a state of overwhelm, whatever, that's enough. Just go and learn how to do your inner authority. You know, go and learn how it is for you. It's very personal. At the same time, we have these types and categories. So I'm just gonna, for those that want to know more, I'm gonna kind of bullet point some other areas in human design. I want to keep this brief, but I want to give some more value. So we talked about the 4 different types: the generator, the projector, the manifestor, and the reflector. Now, in human design, each of those 4 types has a unique strategy. So my strategy as a projector is to wait to be invited. So, for example, if someone would like me to help them, if you're watching this and you're like, oh, I'd like to know more about this, then I'm just waiting. I'm not going to be chasing people saying, hey, I got to teach you about your human design. This is going to make your life better. No, I'm just waiting over here. And if you want to if you see something of value and you want to explore that more, then just drop me a line if you want to, if it feels correct inside, if that feels true for you inside, right? So I'm just talking about projector because I am a projector. I'm here to be a guide, and when I'm invited, that's my strategy, to wait for invitation. And also when I'm recognized, when someone sees or they hear or they feel, yeah, this guy could help me with this thing, then they can be like, oh, I think you might be able to help me with this. And then I'm like, yeah, I could help you with that. Rather than trying to push myself on other people, Anyway, our journey is to move from our not self theme of bitterness towards our theme of success. But the true success for me as a projector only comes when I get used to waiting, and I learn to use bitterness as a signpost that I'm trying too hard or whatever I'm doing. So most people are generators. I won't talk about all the types. I'm not going to break it all down in detail at this point, but generators are here. They are the master builders. They have this energy which they're consistent supply of energy to build things. They're here to respond, but respond from the body, not from the mind. And I will at some point share a little tool that generators can use to help with that. And their job, their mission, their thing is to move from frustration of trying to be going in the wrong direction to feeling satisfaction, the satisfaction at the end of a day, knowing they used their energy for things that gave them joy and pleasure and that satisfaction. So let's talk a little bit more. Projector guides and generator builders. So between those two types, we're 90% of the population. Now, if there's any manifestors or reflectors watching this, I hope you don't feel left out, but we're going to move on. And, I really value the reflectors that I know, very few of them. And I'm not in close connection with many manifestors, but all the different types have a very important place in this system. We're like different pieces of the jigsaw puzzle. And when we come together in correct alignment, we can make the whole picture of the human experience through our different skills and talents. And it goes into a whole load more detail. But let's talk about... So we talked about the spleen. I want to talk briefly about the sacral center. Now, if you're watching this, we don't have many people on there live right now, but thanks for Kerry and whoever else is on there live. If you know your type, I'd love you to post that. If you know, yeah, I'm a reflector, yeah, I'm a generator, yeah, I'm an emotional manifesting generator, or whatever. If you know anything about human design, just post it up there. It'll help people to start to get used to the language and help me to see who's listening and watching. I want to talk about the sacral center. Now, if you have the sacral center defined, it's the red square near the bottom in the middle. Okay, it's one of those 9 centers. And it's the source of consistent life force energy. If you have it defined, you are a generator. And, as a generator, it's all about how you use your life force energy. Now, for me as a projector, I see that Kerry is a projector as well. Now, for all the other 3 types, we do not have the sacral defined. Reflectors do not have the sacral defined. Manifestors do not have the sacral defined. Generators do not have the sacral defined. Now, that's 30% of us, roughly, that do not have the sacral defined. And for us, the key question is, how do I know when enough is enough? There are strong forces out there, conditioning forces, that say, go out there and make it happen. Work hard to build your dream. Now, those things can be very relevant for generators, but for the rest of us, they're often not true. So I know for me, there are sometimes when I feel very energized. These last few days, I haven't needed as much sleep. I felt very energized. It's a bit like I'm surfing on a wave, But that wave will go at some stage. It comes and goes. There are other times where I can spend the whole day just chilling and doing nothing because I do not have the sacral defined. That's the truth of who I am. Sometimes I have energy, sometimes I do not. And the question for all of those of us apart from the generators is, how do I know when enough is enough? And this time that we have right now, it's such a powerful opportunity to look at all the things that, now many of us are not able to do the things that we were doing before, getting out and about. And it's a great opportunity to look and say, well, did I actually need to be doing all of those things? Of course, there are some things that are essential and vital that we can't do now. Like go and meet with other people and freely and connect and have a hug or, whatever it might be. There are restrictions. But this is an opportunity to look at that. How do I know when enough is enough? Now, for the generators, the 66% of generators amongst us, this is really a tough time, being cooped up in a house for a generator. Generators are about doing stuff. Generators are about using their life force energy in ways that help them feel satisfaction. And this is a tough time for generators if you're locked in your house. You are designed to move. You are designed to do things. Now, what's the opportunity for you as generators? Well, maybe the opportunity for generators is to start to tune into that. There may be parts of your busy life that you're no longer able to do, which you realize that actually you don't miss them. It may be a relief. There may be frustrating things that you did that now you can't do. So this is all about tuning into the body and feeling, does this give me pleasure? Is this satisfying? Or is this frustrating me? And it's all about the sounds in your body and the movement in your body and how your life force is responding. And I know some generators, and it is not an easy time for generators to be cooped up. My guess is that it's going to be healthy for generators to be doing yoga or moving the body or doing DIY or doing something, building something during this time. They're unlikely to be sitting still. Maybe getting out and doing some gardening. Being in nature if possible, where that is nourishing to the being. So that's the sacral center, and I now want to talk about the emotional center, which is a brown triangle on the right side opposite the spleen. Again, it has 7 different gates, and the emotional center, if people have it defined, for example, Kerry as an emotional projector has this one colored in, and for her, it's either going to be connected to one of the other centers, the will or the root, basically. But what is this center about? It's the authority. So this is the decision-making center for those people that have it colored in. Again, it's 50% of people. Whether you're a manifester or a projector or a generator, if your emotional center is defined, this is your authority. And this is about decision-making and taking time to make decisions because it's an emotional wave. Quick decisions are not your friend. They may be necessary sometimes, but quick decisions are not your friend. With big decisions, take time to make big decisions if you have emotional authority. Now, for the rest of us that do not have this center defined, including all reflectors and us splenics and half of all types, half of the population roughly, we have a theme here of where am I avoiding conflict and truth. So if you're cooped up with loved ones or cooped up with a significant other, or you're feeling really narky, it could be you're starting to feel that emotional wave, whether it's in you or in other people. Start to notice if are you avoiding conflict and truth? Are you avoiding the elephant in the room, the thing you need to talk to that person about? Again, I won't go into it in a whole load more detail. But Kerry's just messaged to say it's connected down to her root through one of those 3 channels. Kerry, I'd love to know which with which channel it is that's connected, if you feel to share that, because I'm curious. So bear in mind, we got a different, if you're listening to this and you're kind of like, whoa, this is way over my head, then probably you don't need to watch the rest of this. If you know something about human design, this will be making some sense to you. And maybe you're just hearing about it for the first time and you're like, wow, I want to know more about this. Yeah. So again, come back to your inner authority and, is it true for you to keep watching this? Is it true for you to go back to the beginning and watch it from the start? Is it true for you to reach out to me and drop me a line? Is it true for you to contact me and say, hey, I want to know more about this, or whatever? It's all perfect. So Kerry Jane, yeah, that Inese has the same channel as you, that 3041 channel. I did want to talk about a few other things here. Two more things I want to talk about. The first of them is the second line. Now, I am a 3-5 projector. Kerry Jane is a 1-3 projector. Now, there's 6 different lines, 6, that one, and 12 different possible combinations. Now, many of those combinations have the number 2 in them, yeah? So, if you have this second line, I'm not going to go through all the lines, but the second line is the Hermit. And actually, the second line, if you have a 2 in your profile, I was speaking with Raluca earlier, and she's like, yeah, I don't mind spending time on my own. My second line, Hermit self, I can't remember if she's a 2-5 or a 5-2, but either way, she has that second line. There's 2 numbers make up the profile. And for the Hermit, the truth of the Hermit is they're actually quite happy just being alone, just doing their own thing. And I'm sure all of us can maybe identify, a lot of us can identify with that inner hermit place where you're like, yeah, I'm done with peopling for today. And it's interesting, a lot of second line hermits at this time are like, yeah, welcome to my world. What people are experiencing, being in isolation, can be the normal life for someone who lives in that hermit, who embraces that hermit aspect of their profile. There's more things to say about all of this, but I just want to touch on some of these points. Other superpowers, yeah, I guess we all have different superpowers, and this upheaval, this time of crisis or opportunity or whatever, however you see it, there is an opportunity here to explore who you are really. Who are you really? And if you feel like the rug has been pulled out from under your feet, it has. It's been pulled out from under all of our feet. And those of us who are attached to that rug, it's going to be tough. Those of us who are like, oh, wow, I'm at ground zero. My feet are now on the earth. Could be a loss of income, could be loss of freedom, whatever it is. But we have this opportunity to now see, well, who am I actually? Because who you are, really, the truth of who you are, is more permanent than, oh, here I am standing on a rug. Maybe you've gone from having a really healthy salary or income to having nothing. Maybe that was the rug, the rug of wealth that you were on. You're like, yeah, cool, I got money. And now you're like, fuck, I've got no money, right? But the bottom line is, whatever change of circumstance, whatever upheaval, who you really are, whether you use human design or another system, the truth of who you are is magical and powerful beyond measure. So if you're feeling lost, it may be because the old mistruth has gone, and now you've got this opportunity to dig a bit deeper and be like, well, who am I really? Because who you are really is more powerful and more stable and more permanent than any circumstance, right? So in human design we call it the not self, and the not self lives mostly in the mind. For all of these centers, they have a correct and healthy operation, which is the true self. But from birth, we get conditioned to, be polite, not say things that might upset people, you know, like I was saying earlier, avoiding conflict and truth. And we get to really kind of live this parallel life to who we really are. And in human design, we call it the not self. And there are healthy fears, which is like a pulse from the spleen that's like, stay alive, do this, go that way, don't do what you normally do. But most fear is the false evidence appearing real, and the mind makes it real and makes you believe that it's a real and present danger, when usually it is not. Usually there is not a lion about to eat you. It is very rarely life and death. So if you look at your body graph, where the places where you have white, out of those 9 centers, if you have a lot of white, or where the channels and gates, the lines or parts of lines are white as opposed to red and black, that is where the not self can really come in. You know, if you have a reading with a consultant, or you know, you get someone like me to look at your chart, then you can we can go through that and talk about, you know, how that can represent in fears. Final point I want to make is for those of you taking care of children, or maybe you're an auntie or an uncle or a parent who's been forced to homeschool. I used to be a teacher. I used to teach maths, and I love maths, and the curriculum has value in certain places, you know, but really at this time, what I feel is the most important is that, you know, what's the message that kids are getting right now? And now kids are more elastic and more plastic and more flexible in often, not all kids, right? I can imagine for autistic kids that need their routine and consistency, that this could be living hell, you know, and for parents of kids that maybe have that, you know, especially if they have the root undefined, this could be really tough. But most kids on average, you know, they're still learning, they're still plastic, they're still elastic. So, you know, how does it look from the point of view of a kid? Well, they've gone from having one way of life to another way of life. I mean, you know, school is the main part of a kid's routine, and now many kids are being homeschooled, so they're not around other kids, they're more around their own parents. So if you're going nuts with your kids, I feel for you. You know, I'm not a parent, but I love kids, but I love to be able to give them back at the same time. You know, also online connection is tough for kids, but I know kids find their own ways to play and to exist within this. But really, if you've got kids, and you can start to have an awareness, you just need to know what time and date they were born. You can look up their chart, and you can start to work in harmony with those kids. For example, Jen, who is a friend who's a projector, her partner's a projector, and they've got 3 kids. But there's 3 kids there. One of them's a reflector, one's a manifester, and one's a generator. And each of those 3 kids behaves in totally different ways. If you have a generator child in your care or around you, then it's going to be very healthy for them to be running around and doing stuff and building things. And it's going to be hard for them to go to bed unless they burn off that generator energy. And it's so useful to understand that. Don't take my word for it. Test it out. Try it out. For those that have projectors as kids, it's probably going to be, they're probably going to be a lot happier just chilling out. And it can be really beautiful to invite them to do things, you know, to really see who they are and invite them. As projectors, our best work comes when it's invited out of us. Manifestors can be pretty headstrong when they decide they want to do something, to just go and do it. You can do manifestor kids a great favor by teaching them to let you know, to inform, to tell other people what they're going to do, so that other people don't give them a lot of resistance and other people don't get so freaked out. It's not easy for manifestors, you know. They have this kind of very, you know, they're here to kind of live as a law unto themselves and do their own thing. We all are, but specifically manifestors. And if you have a reflector in your care, reflectors can be very, very wise. very dreamy, like almost like another species. Um, Look, as you can probably tell, there is so much to say about this human design system. I've probably said about 5 times as much as I needed to, but I trust that if there is something here that piques your interest, then, you know, this is one very powerful resource that you might want to look into. So I've been sharing many different tools. Now, your job is not to have to learn all of the tools. You know, this is like 15, 20 years of learning that I'm sharing, for me, that I'm sharing the key things. My hope is that you can take one thing that can help you along your journey. And ideally, one thing that you can put into your daily routine to be able to navigate with grace and power. I'm not saying it's always going to be easy. We have challenges to face right now. This is an initiation. And human design is a very powerful map of who we are, our consciousness. Again, if this does not resonate with you at this time, please just leave it. But yeah, if you want to go in deeper, I can hook you up. I'm going to sign out now. Guess where I'm going? A big shout out to Danny and the crew. We are lucky. We are able to social distance and isolate ourselves on the ocean with kite surfing. So Breeze Club is where I'm off to, and I'm going to roll. Big love, people, and I hope that you found something that was useful in this presentation. Do let me know what resonated or what didn't, and I will catch you soon. Ciao.